Hey, Shalom, brothers and sisters in Yahweh Shai. I'm going to go ahead and get back to this for the second time. I have another vision that I wanted to get out. And it's really been put heavy on my heart to go ahead and put it out. This vision, this particular one I received in the year of 2013 as well. And I don't know, that was a very special year when Abba had really poured the spirit on me, was giving me visions and a lot of dreams and stuff, prophecy. And I do apologize for not getting these things out as often as I can, but you know, everything has its divine discourse. But I'm gonna go ahead and get into it. You know, part of the background noise, if there is any, because I am driving on my way home from work. But this particular dream, I tried to actually record it already, and it got interrupted by phone calls. You know, and I tend to notice that a lot. You know, we got to keep it all spiritual and looking at things with spiritual eye. A lot of these things are spirits of distraction. If you look at some of my other videos, like especially the ones concerning me and my daughter talking about some of the dreams she had about the elect and the powers, you know, and you know, the videos that I have up of that, you know, my wife is in the background interrupting it. She's unaware of what she's doing, but like I said, we got to be spiritual, and I know what it is spiritually. So I went ahead and disconnected my Bluetooth from the phone, muted my phone. I disconnected my Bluetooth from my car, and I cut my volume all the way down on my phone. So even if I'm interrupted with a call, you won't hear it. So I'm going to go ahead and give this revelation that I received. It's very important. It's very dire. It's concerning war on American soil. And I already prayed over this, and hopefully it makes sense and it resonates with some of the brothers and sisters, man, who can take heed to this. But now it's the time for me to reveal this. I had a vision that me and my wife was walking out of Giant. As we was walking out of Giant, I heard the sonic boom of a jet. It was a fighter jet. It was flying very low, and it carpet bombed a civilian apartment complex, garden-style apartments that were maybe 500 yards away from this Giant. This is all in my neighborhood. It's in Virginia. And when this fighter jet dropped these bombs, it was like carpet bombs. You know, the rubble from the explosion, the rubble and the rocks and stuff, fell to the ground and rolled to my feet and literally stopped at my toes. You know, when I looked down, the rubble was rolling and sliding, and it stopped. You know, that's how massive this explosion was from this carpet bombing, and it was on a civilian apartment complex, garden-style apartment complex. You know, and it was pretty big, you know. So when this happened, of course, pandemonium started to spread, and me and my wife, we went ahead and made a run for it. As we were running, I began running down, me and her began both running down the street, and what I began to notice next was, I'm going to try to explain this. They were mercenaries. It was militant mercenaries driving in cars, and they were shooting people. They were shooting people. They were hanging out the windows with automatic rifles, and they were killing people, civilians. These mercenaries, I call them mercenaries because they weren't fully dressed in military clothing. You know, some of them had on jeans, some of them had on khakis, but they had you know, their rifles, they had the vest, you know, they had certain tactical gear on, but it was like mercenaries. You know, you can tell from what they were wearing. They all seemed to be of Middle Eastern descent, and I'm just speaking as a man, you know, but the understanding that I have, I'm just speaking as a man, it appeared to be ISIS, man, or some type of Middle Eastern people. You know what I mean? They had these scarves and stuff like that on them, black scarves, and they was just out here gunning people down, man, hanging out of car windows. And then what they began doing, as they were shooting people in traffic, they began getting out of the car They began getting out of their cars, and they were walking up on pedestrians who were walking. They were shooting at people who were driving in their cars. And then as people began to run and stuff like that, and as people was getting shot and it was like injured, it was like trying to stagger away, they was, these ISIS militants. I'm gonna call them ISIS militants because in the spirit, that's what I feel like it was. But these ISIS militants began parking the car in the middle of the streets and jumping out, all four doors swinging open, and they began by the twos and threes getting out of these cars and began gunning down civilians and shooting civilians. So me and my wife, we were just running, and this is what I was seeing. And if you're familiar with the Northern Virginia area, this was all occurring on Van Dorn Street, where the Giant just moved, like literally just moved this year in 2018. But it just moved not too far away. But right there by the Giant and the Red Lobster and the McDonald's, right there on that portion of Van Dorn Street is where all this was happening. And me and my wife continued to run, and there was an apartment building. And it's weird because back when I had this vision, this apartment building was not built yet. It was being built, the ground was being broken, but now, fast forward 5 years, it's finished construction. But at this time of my dream, it was finished construction as well. In the dream, but in reality, in 2013, it wasn't finished being built yet. But me and my wife was running to this building, and to give you an example where this, if you're familiar with the Northern Virginia area, it was the new apartment complex on the intersection of Van Dorn and South Pickett, with the Jimmy John's and the Starbucks on the lower level. That was the building, okay, and the apartment building. They're very nice. It's very lofty, but this is besides the point. Me and my wife were running. And at some point while we were running towards this apartment building, and I don't know why, but I'm just going to speak what happened. It was a random portion of grass, like a random field. And it was a tall fence, like maybe a 20-foot fence. And I climbed over the fence, and my wife went around the fence and continued to run on the grass. I don't know what that really means, but that's what happened. Then we met back up, and I continued to run, and we ran to this apartment building that I was telling you about, the one that's now finished construction on the intersection of Van Dorn and Pickett Street. And we run in this building, and me and my wife began running down the hall. It was one of those extreme moments where it was so much chaos instantly. It was so much chaos that all you could do was just try to get the hell indoors somewhere and take cover, man. Because if you was outside, you was going to be killed, man. It was bombs falling, and it was these mercenary militants outside just gunning people down, man. Talking about it was just random. But me and my wife run into this apartment building, and this one wasn't a garden style. It was more like a kind of a high rise, maybe an 8 or 9 story high rise. It's not that high, but you know what I mean. We run in this building, and people are stepping out into the hallways in their bathrobes. There's people who were asleep, and they're waking up because they're hearing all this chaos. Those people in their underwears, and they're like, what's going on? What's going on? And they're so confused. They don't know what's going on. And I'm like, we're under attack. It's an attack going on outside, y'all. So I don't know why, but some people came out of their building. Out of their apartments. Because, as I'm running down the hall with my wife, people are opening up their doors to their apartments, and they're like freaking out, like what's going on, trying to figure it out. They're all consorting in the hallway. And some of these people began to follow me and my wife. And me and my wife, what we did, we ran downstairs. We went to the stairwell. Oh man. Accidentally did a voice command in my car on accident. Didn't mean to do that. Hopefully y'all can't hear it. I'm backing up right now. I'm sorry. I'm just getting home, but I'm sorry about this, y'all. I don't mean to throw a brick in the middle of this prophecy, but yeah, people began following us from the hallways, and me me and my wife, we got to running down the halls, and people were following us, and we went for the stairwell. Like, you have like in the case of a fire emergency, they have the concrete stairwells that you would take instead of the elevator. It was like those, nothing fancy at all. And we're running down the stairwells, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna go to the boiler room. So we ended up in the boiler room of this apartment building, and a handful of people who were meeting us in the halls, who were confused and coming out of their apartments, they followed us. You know what I'm saying? So we get down to the boiler room, and the boiler room is kind of like underground, but there were these windows in the boiler room. But the windows, when you looked out of them, they were like at eye level. The windows were at my eye level, and upon looking out the window was at ground level. So it was kind of like the basement, but the window was high up, and when you look out the window, you're looking literally, you see the grass, you know what I mean? The window is at the ground level, and you can see the street. And as I'm peeking out the window, one of these cars full of these mercenary ISIS assailants, noticed me in the window, and they pulled over, and two guys got out the car with their rifles. And I can see in their eyes, like, in spirit, when you're having a vision or a dream, you can tell exactly what a person is thinking. And what these two guys were thinking was like, oh, I see you. And, they basically saw me. And what they were thinking was that they knew there was people in there with me, and they was going to come in there and gun everybody down and kill everyone. That's what they was thinking. And this is where it gets a little confusing, but I'm going to try to explain it the best I can, to the best of my ability. But I watched these guys run up, and they began running towards the building we were in. There was a door, I guess a side door, and a flight of steps that takes you right to the boiler room. And they came in this door. Now the boiler room once you come in the door and go down the steps, the boiler room we was in had two doors. It was kind of like a horseshoe, Coming down the steps, I guess I'm going to give you first person. Coming down the steps, you would look to the right, and you'll see the first door to get in the boiler room. But then after the first door, like maybe 20 feet continuing, there's another door at the end, and that was also to get in the boiler room, kind of like a horseshoe. And we was, I guess, on the inside the horseshoe. You know what I mean? I'm just saying horseshoe because I'm just trying to help y'all understand what it looked like, the geometry of the boiler room, and how the doors were. But what happened was these two assailants came in with their rifles, and they passed the first door. And as soon as they passed the first door and went into the second door, as they was coming in to the second door, I hurried up and slid out the door they just passed and crept up behind the second guy. I put him in a chokehold, grabbed his rifle, and killed himself with it. So I shot him, the guy that I grabbed, I shot him with his own rifle, and it startled the guy who was in front of him, the first guy who just stepped into the boiler room. And I shot him, and then the dream ended. The dream immediately ended. And this is the weird part. Well, not weird, but this was the validation, and I'm going to break it down. As soon as the dream ended, me and my wife walked out of Giant, and I heard the sonic boom from a fighter jet flying very low, and then the carpet bombs, then the rubble from the explosion rolled across the pavement 500 yards away and stopped at my feet. And I looked down, and I noticed it, and then I realized the dream was happening all over again, like replay, immediate replay. And I basically went to fruition of everything I just told you. It all happened again. And then when it ended, that time I woke up. And I was like, whoa, oh my goodness, what is this, man? Like, what's the deal with this? And, I prayed on it. As soon as I woke up, I thanked the sovereign Yahweh Shai for showing me this. And I went into the scriptures to try to find some validation. And I didn't premeditate what I was going to look at. And this is how I used to read back in 2013. I always let the Spirit lead. I just opened up the Bible. I had a 1611 King James Version with the Apocrypha. I just opened it. That's all I did. I just opened it. It said, wherever I read is what the Lord wants me to see. In my heart, that's how I was looking at it. And when I opened it, I landed in the book of Genesis. And maybe I should have pulled the verse in the chapter out before I started recording this. But as soon as I opened up the Genesis and I looked, I came to the portion where Joseph was deciphering Potiphar's dream, and how Potiphar had them 2 dreams back to back of like the 7 fat, I think it was the 7 fat cows and the 7 sickly cows, and then it was like the 7 fat fish and the 7 sickly fish that ate up the fat ones. You know, it was that part. Basically, Pharaoh had 2 dreams and back to back, and Joseph interpreted Potiphar's dream, you know, because nobody could do it. And basically it was about the 7 years of famine and the 7 years of prosperity and the 7 years of famine. And Joseph, and this is the part that my eyes went straight to. Joseph told Potiphar, the reason you had these dreams 2 times because it is sure to come to pass. The reason you had these dreams 2 times is because it is sure to come to pass. And I thank the Lord at that moment because, you know, like I said, I just opened the book and he immediately validated it. And this was a dream I had in 2013, you know. So, brothers and sisters, you know, tribulation is ahead. I don't know if it's a false flag. I'm actually, no, it is. It is, you know, the powers that be, the higher levels, of government. And, they're trying to bring in this new world order. They're trying to bring in this tribulation. You know, and they're going to plan something very, very great, man. High in wickedness. And it's going to take a lot of lives. You know, a lot of people are going to die. You know what I mean? But this was shown to me, and hopefully you can get something out of this. Please take it in prayer. Please take it in prayer. I have no reason to make this stuff up, y'all. You know, I used to have a Red Pill page. Not to get off topic, but I used to have a MGTOW page, and the Lord pulled me away from that. I don't really put content on there no more. This is what the Lord wants me to do. He's been pulling on my heart to begin to give these revelations, you know, that I've had in my life. Now is the time he wants me to push them. And you know, when the Spirit wants you to do something, it's like you know it. You know, so that's what I'm going to do, and I still have other prophecies I want to put out, but this is one that has been on my mind, and the Lord really wants me to push it out there. So, take it to the Lord, you know, pray on it, and see if, you know, He may reveal the same to you, and if He does, man, please feel free to, you know, make a video and tag me in it, like put a link in my comment so I can check it out. You know, because that's a face booster for me. It lets me know that, I mean, I know I'm not crazy, but it lets me know I'm not crazy. Like, it feels good to know that there's other people who are being revealed the same thing. It's a faith booster. You know what I mean? Although I have 100% faith that these things are about to happen. You know, not many people know about this channel. You know, I have 2. I have the Raw Hebrew and this Premonition to Fruition. And in the Premonition to Fruition, I strictly try to talk about, you know, visions that I've had. You know, then I have the Red Pill page that I'm not really affiliating with no more. But, you know, Yahweh's pulling me out of the world and kind of getting me to focus on Him and His duties and His work. So, you know, all praises to Yahweh being the Father, by Hashem in the name, Yahweh Shai, the Son, Salah, Shalom. Thank you for checking this out, and hopefully it was edifying for you.